All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with our post-race media availabilities here at Pocono Raceway. We are now joined by part of our race-winning team, James Small, the crew chief for the number 19 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. If you have a question for James, please raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. We'll start in the back with Zach and work our way around the ring.
Zach Sterniolo, NASCAR.com. James, right in the back.
Oh, yeah, there.
Congratulations on this one. When understanding that you guys didn't get as much fuel in on that final stop as you hoped to come away with the victory, and that you guys seem to be able to trust each other to overcome that, what does that say about the unity of this 19 team and Chase's ability to be able to conserve despite that lack of fuel?
Yeah, well, believe in everybody in this team. It's been a tough couple of years. Since 2023 we haven't won, and we've never lost belief, any of us. And just backing the engineers, on what they were telling me, and Drew and myself trying to work with Chase. And it's one thing, he's very open into listening and trying to put in place what we're trying to tell him. That's one great thing about him, and he did an excellent job just managing that. And I was shocked that we made it, to be honest. And we even had enough fuel to do a couple of burnouts and rolled in victory lane there, and it ran out. So, credit to everybody, all the engineers, everybody at TRD, and everyone behind that.
And for clarification's sake, did he just leave the box? What happened?
Yeah, he just left the box early. So, our play is we drop the car and wait on fuel. He told me he had a lot of RPM and he couldn't hear. And, we made the call, ready. As soon as he heard anything, he just went. So, when we rolled out there, if it went green, we were 9 laps short. And, it was going to be a mountain to climb. But thankfully, we've lost many races by things not going the right way for us. And thankfully, that caution, saved us and then put us in position that we could manage our fuel to the end. So, you've seen this happen before. It was the same thing with Denny in 2022 here when he won. Later taken away. But he did the same thing, and it worked out for them that day as well. So just so thankful and proud of everybody on the team.
Before we continue, we're also now joined by Joe Gibbs, team owner of Joe Gibbs Racing. Coach, congratulations.
Thank you there.
We will continue on with questions now. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Mason Smith with the Pocono Record over here. Obviously, it's not the first rain delay that you and your team have dealt with, but how was it just trying to manage everybody's emotions and make sure you're still staying locked up for the race without getting too high or too low?
Yeah, honestly, this was one of the cruisiest rain delays, not a stop-start. We hate those ones, and, honestly didn't really notice it that much. The sun came out like we thought. Track conditions were very, very similar to what we planned. So, just thankful all that rain came through and allowed us to get the full race in there.
Okay, we'll go next to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. James, as you referenced, it had been a while, and look, you've had speed, a lot of things have happened, type of thing. How do you get through that and not let that beat you down? Because you guys you've gone through some really tough experiences with some really good cars that didn't win for whatever reason. How did you get through that to get to today?
It's been tough. I'm a harshest critic. I'm very, if something goes wrong and I thought I could have done something better, I let it eat me, and I try and make sure I learn from all those mistakes. And I'm just thankful to be surrounded by really, really good people. We know when we roll up to the track, if we can put a race together, and it was the same with Martin, if we can put a race together, we're capable of winning every race. And, there's been a little bit of a learning curve with Chase and just trying to understand all of that. But I feel like, last 5-6 weeks, we've been in that position. Speed has been incredible. And it's just finally today, we had a little bit of luck on our side, but we had that speed. We put ourselves in great track position. And, we showed what we are really capable of as a race team. And I know, and everybody else knows at JGR, that this is what we can do every week. And we're going to keep fighting all the way to the end, no matter what happens.
Also, Chase has talked about just how big of a step this was going up to JGR from the SHR cars, and even a bigger step than maybe he anticipated. How have you tried to help, or what are the things that you can do in working with a new driver, but also trying to catch him up to maybe the level of the car that you guys have had?
Yeah, it's been a lot of work. from where he came from, there wasn't much accountability. Nobody was holding his feet to the fire. And, that's probably been a big wake-up call for him, we expect a lot. We demand perfection. That's the personalities on this race team. We're ready to go and, we'll go and kill our grandma to win the race. So, that's probably a little different from him. And he is a different personality type, especially to me and, a couple of people on the team. So it's been a challenge, I won't lie. But, he has taken it in his stride and, he absorbs everything like a sponge, and I think the more and more reps he gets with these cars and just working on his technique and, he's surrounded by two of the greatest drivers out there in Denny and Christopher. And, we have a lot of data to work back on Martin, things like that, so we're still a work in progress and we're far from being where we think we can be, but at this point he is, he's meeting our expectations and I still expect a lot from him and he's only going to get better, I know.
We go to Dalton next and then Jordan.
Hey, James. Dalton Hopkins, front stretch. In those final few laps when you're coaching Chase Briscoe as he's saving fuel, how surprised were you to see him actually pulling away from the 11?
Not much, one of Chase's great habits is to, drive it in till he sees, Jesus. And it's, so I think he said out there before, he learned something today as well. It's one of the things we've been working on him, just trying to focus on getting off the corner and not overdriving entries and things like that. So, and clean air is important, and we've seen it before. You're capable of, being able to lead and save fuel here and do the right thing and drive well. And, it was a long run on tires there. The guys following, in dirty air as well, which helped. So, he definitely executed there and, kept doing exactly what we asked of him. And, that's what got us to the end.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. A couple questions for both of you. First, James, this is your 9th career win. What does this compare to the other 8? Because watching you in victory lane, this seemed more, I don't want to say it's a relief, but this just seemed different.
No, this is my best win, 100%. So this is my proudest moment for sure. It's been honestly the hardest win. It's different. I inherited a position with, a championship winning driver, won a lot of races, and this has been a lot of work, and a lot of work by a lot of people, and a lot of frustration, but there's also been a lot of good times and a lot of letdown. And I'm just so proud of Chase. He's done just an amazing job just trying to absorb it all, and he's never complained once. He's probably scared to complain to me, to be honest, but he has done a great job, and today showed that. And just proud of him and everybody on the team.
During this stretch, if you will, going back to New Hampshire in 2023, did you ever think, 1, you were never going to win a Cup Series race again, and 2, I hate to ask, but, what your tenure as the crew chief for this team may be?
No, I never stopped believing myself. I know I'm as good or better than everybody out there. I have incredible self-belief, and maybe it sounds arrogant. I don't walk around portraying that. I think I'm pretty low-key, but I have, I know what myself and my team are capable of doing, and I think this just showed it, and we're ready to rip now.
And Joe, what have you seen out of this 19 group over the last 2 years, and then what have you seen out of Chase and the pressure that he's been on since he joined the team?
First of all, I'm glad you said you run over your grandmother, not your granddad.
Yeah.
Okay. I might get in the way. No, you're talking to the right person, James and Chase. I mean, when you think about what I think it illustrates everything that James has been through is how hard our sport is. And so he's paid a big price after it, best engineer and everything on the 19. Then he gets the chance to be a crew chief, just a huge step. And then everything that you go through. And now our first year with Chase. So he's just deserves so much credit. And then I think Chase, if you look at his background, he's paid a huge price to be able to get here. And if you kind of look at the years that he spent sleeping on people's couches and everything, it shows you again what a hard climb it is to get the cup. And so I think it's two great stories, two guys that deserve it, really appreciate it. And then the other thing I think about is Johnny Morris and JP, how much it means to the sponsor. Had both of them there they wanted to talk to James, and they wanted to talk to Chase. And so I think in our sport, the thing that I really appreciate is different than any other sport. You got to have a great sponsor partner, and they are partners. And so it just affects that so much. And to all of our people back there working at the race shop, it's just a huge deal. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for questions for James, and you get Chase in here. He deserves it.
We're going to go back to Zach real quick, and then we're going to go to Ryan.
Zach Sterniel at NASCAR.com. Coach, I have one for you. This is about, I believe it's around the same time as last year's announcement, bringing Chase onto the JGR roster. You were keen, and you pursued Chase pretty significantly.
Yep.
How has this season proved you and this team right in?
Yeah, I think, to be truthful, super speed. I mean, you're talking about 5 poles and 5 top 5s before today. And so they've been knocking at it. And normally when you do that in pro sports, you get the victory. But I just think for our whole team back there, when we make a decision for a driver, it's just a huge deal for us. We went through a lot. Tried to research every single thing that we could, and James and our crew chiefs are a part of it. And I think we came down to Chase was the guy, and he was being pursued by other people, so we went after him hard.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Hello, congratulations to you both, Ryan from Five Lug Racing. I have a question for both of you. Coach, I'll start with you. Joe, considering your success in both NASCAR and football, what lessons from your coaching career have you found most transferable to your role as a team owner in motorsports, especially when you add a new driver to your roster?
Yeah, I think what we're dealing with in pro sports, what I love, it's constantly changing. Pro sports are. I said 30% a year in football and 30% a year in NASCAR. But the thing that doesn't change is human nature. And you win with people, and we got great people, and 2 of them took part today. I think James, the way he cares about things, really comes across. And then Chase. So you win with people, and all the other people that we have there at Joe Gibbs Racing, we're surrounded by really, really good people. And that's what you eventually win with. Human nature, same things excited us 2,000 years ago, same thing that discouraged us. So human nature doesn't change. Get the right people, and you'll win.
And piggybacking kind of off of that, James, when a new driver joins a racing team, it's crucial to establish a strong working relationship with the crew chief. What was the process this offseason to build that bond with Chase Briscoe so you can set yourself up for success to be celebrating a win today?
Honestly, it started last year, right after the announcement. We started spending time together, and just hanging out. And, first time I met him was actually in Coach's office, and we sat there for an hour and talked about just random stuff. And, it's just trying to build a relationship. It's just trying to be friendly about it too. You know what I mean? I'm not holding him accountable for everything as well, but I'm not going to be a complete ass about it. And, just trying to take an interest in things he likes. We had a great trip, a few weeks ago before Kansas, and we went out to Johnny Morris's property and whole team and had an incredible fishing trip. And, that was a great team building thing for us. And, to hang out there with JP and those guys. And, it's the first time I've ever been fishing, and it was the best time of my life. So, it's just, he's very easy to get along with. There's no doubt, and it's very, very different to some drivers, and no ego, and it's just, it's easy. It's not a challenge at all. So, but once again, it's just, I'm just proud of the guy. We've asked a lot of him, and he's trusted, that, the process. He's bought into it, and that's the big thing. And now he's finally being rewarded.
Thank you, guys.
Go ahead, Scott.
Scott Walsh from the Scranton Times-Tribune. James, 2 questions. One, when did you maybe know that you had enough, after with Chase saving the fuel, in the final laps? When did you maybe think you were good to the end?
Looking at the numbers, once we got into a certain rhythm there, we hit a certain fuel number per lap based on what we were seeing and in the way he was driving. And that was probably about 15 to go. And we knew if we maintained that kind of pace and that kind of fuel usage to the end, we stood, a really good chance of making it within the error of what we can calculate. It's super, super close. So, yeah.
The second question, could you go back to the pit stop? I think it was in the second stage that you went to the pits and then a caution came out right after that, and that helped get you in front for the for the lead to win the second stage.
Yeah. So obviously there was 2 things that happened there. The 71 cut a tire, which he was getting back to pit road, and then there was a piece of debris on the front stretch, which is what they called the caution for. So looked like somebody's rotor band, and you could clearly see it was out there. So thankfully that worked out. That was the trigger for us pitting there. Saw the debris, and I'm like, it's now or never. We were probably at that point 3 to 4 laps short of our window when we pitted, and we took the gamble and it paid off.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net, back here to your right. James, for you, okay, you guys were racing 36 other cars, but one of those cars was Denny Hamlin, who's got 7 wins here. They know what you're going to do. You know what they're going to do. How worried were you about Denny coming up? I mean, he got within like 0.3 of a second. At one point, he was within 80 feet of the car. Were you nervous on the pit box about Denny coming past y'all?
Oh, 100%. Whenever Denny's behind you, you're always nervous. He's one of the highest racing IQ people I've ever come across, and we all know how masterful he is around this place, and they knew our situation better than everybody, and I know that they were pushing him to push us and try and make us run out, and Chase did a great job just putting him in his wake, just doing everything he needed to do to win a race with these cars, and to beat Denny is he is one of the best really out there. So that's a big hat a big feather in Chase's hat.
Some bragging rights this week?
Oh yeah, but they've still won some more races than us, so I'll keep it quiet.
All right, we'll take 2 more questions. We'll come right here in the back, and then we'll finish with Adam.
Samuel Stubbs, YardBarker.com, back here. Coach, for you, this is the second of your teams this year where you have a new driver and a new crew chief combination, the first one being Chris and Denny, that have won a race in the first half of the season. What does that say about the people and the culture at Joe Gibbs Racing that these 2 unknown quantities to each other are able to go into a season and rip off a win like that?
Well, I think we've kind of been talking about, it's the people. And I think everything, for instance, with Chris Gale, we had signed his contract when things weren't going well a year ago, because we just think the world of him. And we decided to make that change that we made, and he's jumped right into the 11th spot. The other part of it is, everybody knows here, we took Chris Gaypart, moved him to competition director. So we, inside of our race team, we were doing a lot. And so I think all those moves were really, thought over, prayed over, but we got great people, and we made those changes. And you're never sure in pro sports. It's so hard. But it certainly has been rewarding for us so far this year, the moves we made.
And then, James, for you, we saw the emotion in Victory Lane and on the pit box, the stretch that you've had over these 2 years, really. Does this feel like a weight lifted off your shoulders to get back to Victory Lane, especially with a new driver and everything that comes with it?
Yeah, huge weight, huge relief. It's been hard. We've been very, very close. I've won about 10 times. I've lost about 10 times as many races that we've won. So, it's just so hard to win in this series. You have to be perfect. You have to have perfect days, and it all just comes down to execution. And you can have a fast car, but that's probably not the biggest thing. You need a little luck, and you need to be, keep it clean all day. And just happy we have one of those days today, and we got Coach a win that he deserves.
I'm Chopper, Motorsports Today. First off, congrats to both of you on the win. James, I'll go to you first.
Oh, there you
are. Yeah, so I almost lost my train of thought there for a second. I apologize. But James, wow, okay, we're going to Coach first. Coach, I'm just curious about the last 10, 15 laps when it became pretty evident that the win was going to come down between two of your drivers, Chase Briscoe, who wants his first win with this organization, and Denny Hamlin, who's going for his 58th with organization, and for all intents and purposes, 2 in a row.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Let me say this. The most nervous I get when 2 of our cars are up front. It's always been that. And we've had some tough things happen too, and you always think about that, you worry about that, and so your point is well made. That's where I get the most concerned, because just like we're talking about, Denny wants it, his sponsor, his career, everything he's racing for, and Chris Gale over there, and the other side you got James, you got Chase, you got our sponsors, and you're just never sure. That's why we love our sport, I think, but I do get nervous, really nervous.
Awesome. And James, don't worry, now I remember. So just now that you guys got that first win out of the way, just thinking, going towards the back end of the regular season and the playoffs, do you see this, you guys have already had a lot of speed this year, but do you see this as an opportunity for the floodgates to open or try new setups? How do you guys progress through the rest of the season?
I think it just gives us a little more, confidence to play a little freer. But realistically, there's a lot of new tracks, still a lot of learning with Chase. We haven't, outside of Atlanta here and Daytona, 2 speedway tracks, we have not been to any of these tracks with him yet. So still, a lot we need to learn, a lot we have to get accustomed to with him. But yeah, the biggest thing is just, we've been in a hole in the points because we've scored next to no stage points. Our average finish and our finishing rate has been excellent. And, so just trying to build our points position and anything we can do here to get as many playoff points to start, that's going to help.
All right, Coach James, congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Coach, come this way.
Sponsor.